I call them crazy news from Russia. The news that explain what's really going on in Russia that you will not find in any Western mainstream media. I give them to you every Friday, and this is week 30 in review. Putin demands to have more scientists. Largest natural gas company is burning gas it extracts. Military bonuses double. Food shortages have been seen for the first time since 1991, and more expected. Russian senator arrested, right in the parliament. Large apartment block collapses. Russian equivalent of the Olympics is cancelled. And the biggest news of the week is Russia is becoming North Korea. And I give you the evidence. Howdy, howdy, friends. My name is Konstantin. Welcome to Inside Russia, where usual Russia is explained by the unusual Russian. Welcome to Fridays. I give you Friday crazy news update, straight out of the mad circus that Russia has become. But first things first, there's no such absurdity that could not be realized in Russia these days. Please remember that. Before I jump straight to the news, a couple thoughts for you. These news I give, they are beyond crazy. They are insane. Sometimes I read a news piece and I think, this can't be true. This is a joke or a fake. And then I fact check and it turns out to be true. Sometimes, well, so the news are insane, but also the amount of the news is insane. I have 14 news here for you, but I had to leave about 39 other news out of this report due to time limit. And I've seen this situation before. It was happening in the last 3 years of the USSR. We had the same period of crazy news rolling out literally every single day. And I think in today's Russia, we've entered a similar period in the life of the country. That's a big topic. And I want to talk about it in one of the future streams. Please keep on tuning in. But I'm pretty sure that those of you, if you lived in the USSR in the late 80s and in the countries of the Eastern Bloc in Europe, I think that you went through the same thing there. So please take a note. Now, straight to the crazy news. And let me start with something lighthearted. With Putin's press secretary Dmitry Peskov. Oh, good old Dmitry. We love you. This past week, Peskov unexpectedly talked of miracles. Yeah, miracles. Well, not his miracles, but the miracles that happened to his son. As some of you might know, Dmitry Peskov's son, Nikolai, is supposedly serving in the front lines. Well, that's what good old Dmitry says. Other than that, there's no proof of that, but we've heard it quite a few times. Nikolai Peskov is serving in the front lines in Ukraine. Well, Peskov told about the miracles that happened to his son in the front lines. At the same time, Putin's press secretary stresses that Nikolai does not believe that all those talks about the miracles should become public. So what kind of miracles could they be, I wonder? Fighting in the front lines from 9 to 5 and from 5 to midnight, sitting home in the center of Moscow on a cozy couch, sipping extra old cognac. And the next morning, back to the front lines, just like that, to make it home by the lunchtime again, to have some more cognac. That's my pure speculations, of course, but I wonder if Peskov was talking about that kind of miracles. Another news is both scientific and fairly interesting. Vladimir Putin demanded to bring scientists from abroad to Russia and to force businesses to chip in for the development of science in Russia. Scientists from abroad should be invited to Russia, and science funding should be partially shifted to private businesses. Such instructions were given by the President of Russia, Vladimir Putin, following the meeting of the Council for Science and Education. According to the materials published on the Kremlin website, I'm informing you of that. According to Putin's idea, Russian Federation needs to attract leading foreign researchers and specialists to participate in scientific research. Well, research and development, really, including the creation of, now listen to this, mega science class projects. It is necessary to create favorable conditions for such scientists, said Vladimir. Provide housing and simplify processing of visa documents. That's the president's instructions. At the same time, Putin instructed the government to submit proposals on determining mechanisms for attracting private investments to finance projects to ensure Russia's technological leadership. Russia's technological leadership among what's going on right now? I wonder if Dmitry Peskov's son, Nikolai, was there, meeting his father's boss and perhaps, sharing some of an extra old cognac or something like that. Russia's technological leadership. First of all, no one knows what mega science class projects are. CERN, particle collider, Hubble telescope. I don't understand. Russia's biggest recent scientific breakthrough is flushable toilet paper sleeve. I talked about it in last Friday Crazy News Update. What mega science class project the hell are you talking about, Vladimir? And private businesses financing government science projects? What? First, they assaulted, the Russian businesses assaulted with draconian fiscal policies aimed to finance the war. And now they want to finish them off by forcing to finance government scientific projects, high taxes, one-time taxes, all these not so wonderful things, and now finance the science. What about those taxes that Russian companies and Russian people have been paying to finance scientific projects? That money doesn't count anymore? My comments, well, are too many to make, okay? All I gotta say right now is good luck, Vladimir. Good luck, Russian government. Best of luck to you. You do what you announced. You do that. You at least try to do that. And we'll sit here with popcorn right here, and we'll watch you trying. Another news comes from Mr. Newsmaker, Russian President Vladimir Putin again. He just signed an executive decree. He doubled one-time bonus payments for signing contracts with the Ministry of Defense from 195,000 rubles to 400,000 rubles. The payment is due for conscripts, military personnel, and other citizens of Russian Federation and foreigners, pretty much for everyone who steps forward and signs a contract with the Ministry of Defense. The provinces will pick up the bill, the budgets of the provinces, but they will be reimbursed from the federal budget. In addition to the federal budget sign-up bonus of 400,000 rubles, the province governments are running own sign-up bonus payments programs, also reimbursed by the federal budget. For example, in Moscow, if someone wants to step forward and sign a contract with the Ministry of Defense, such person would receive a bonus payment of 1.9 million rubles. What does it tell us? Trouble. In capital letters. Trouble in the front lines. Trouble in the armed forces. They are out of cannon fodder. They are trying so hard to get more people, but doubling sign-up bonuses is just not working anymore. How do we know? Because they are upping these bonuses. They're increasing them every single week. Russian army is in trouble, and they know it. I start smelling ceasefire coming, proposals coming from the Russian side, and peace talks following up. I think that peace is up in the air. Well, the next news is shocking. Okay, most of today's news are shocking. But this one is in a league of its own. I don't know how to tell it to you folks, but that's a lot of people have been asking me. Almost every single live stream, when I turn the live stream chat on, that question is among most popular. For the first time in Russia since 1991, we are seeing food shortages. Check this out. Look at the pictures and I will explain you what they mean. Now, I'm not here to misinform you. I'm going to tell you what they are and why these shelves are empty. As you see, not all the products are in shortage. Quite a few are stocked. But there are empty shelves, and there's a little movie about it too. A local guy filmed it and made a little 30-second movie. Now, again, I don't want to mislead you. Those are not food shortages due to lack of food itself. There's still plenty of food in Russia. These shortages are due to the lack of people. Lack of people. Water and some food products have disappeared from the Peterochka food stores in the cities around Moscow province. The reason is a temporary shutdown of the distribution center in the city of Yaroslavl that belongs to X5 Retail Group, Russia's largest food retail company. The shutdown happened after the federal police conducted anti-migrant worker raid. Breads, cereals, flour, spices, bottles of water began to disappear from some stores last week. At first, it started happening in Yaroslavl. That's a fairly large city in the central Russia, not too far from Moscow. In the other day, the epidemic of empty shelves started moving to the city of Rybinsk, then to the city of Kovrov, and then some cities such as Ivanovo and Kostroma. Current shortage of distribution center, current shortage of workers of the distribution center is around 1,000 people. Migrants worked there, but after the police came and raided the place, most were deported to their homelands. Peterochka started looking for people and announced that it would take about 1 month to solve the problem. And by the way, I have talked so much about low unemployment. You see, low unemployment is not good, and high unemployment is not good. You gotta hit certain numbers. You gotta be in the center. So Vladimir Putin, for a long time, bragged that Russia's unemployment rate is very low. I remember he bragged 4%, then 3-something%. Now it's rumored to be 2.2%. What is an unemployment of 2.2%? What does it look like? Well, look at its face. That's what it looks like. Large companies shut down because there's simply no one to work. There is food, but there are no drivers, no warehouse workers, no supervisors, and food just doesn't get to the stores. That's how very low unemployment looks like. And trust me, it's not pretty. In economics, in economic science, it's a very big problem. Will people there starve anytime soon? No. Everyone still has food. But I want you to memorize this moment because this is the first time we are seeing food shortages, bare shelves. I am emphasizing this moment. I want you to memorize. There's always first time for everything. I remember clearly the first time in the USSR when we started having food shortages, sugar shortages. The year was 1985, and I came to a store with my grandma, and we were standing in line. There were 15 people with us, and my grandma was able to get a package of kilo of sugar, and I was out of luck. And the person behind the counter looked at me and said, "I'm sorry, boy, we run out of sugar." And my grandma asked, "When are you gonna get it?" "I don't know, there's something going on. We probably should get it soon." I remember the day very clearly. That's how the shortages started. What followed after was chaos, okay? But there's always first time, and now we're seeing it. Now, what we're seeing is just the beginning, the very tip of the iceberg. And the thing is, food shortages will come later. Consumer goods shortages will come much, much quicker. And they're going to be massive. Again, at first, they will not come from food. Why? Because Russia simply grows lots of food. And if you can't distribute it well, that people will somehow find a way to go to warehouses by themselves and so forth. I'm not worried about food. It's about the rest of the stuff. Let me quote the analysis of one of Russia's largest bank called Alpha. The growing problems with cross-border payments experienced by Russian companies may hit the consumer goods market soon. The reduction in the import assortment in the next 6 months or a year may affect clothing stores as well as the technology and electronics sector. On the horizon of from 6 to 9 months, the most likely scenario will be 15 to 20% increase in prices for electronics, as well as deterioration of variety of goods. The most aggressive price increase awaits computers and smartphones, which are not produced in Russia whatsoever. The reduction in the supply of machinery and electronics in 2025 will take place mainly in the middle price segment. Equipment will become more expensive, including due to the problems of logistics, and as a result, sales will shift toward cheap goods with minimum necessary characteristics. Unquote. Not much I have to add to that. I was not taken seriously by the Russians. And over these 2.5 years, I've talked a lot to people and I've shared my opinions on how economy was going to perform. And I was never taking it seriously. You local village idiot. Look, everything is fine. Look, we have plenty of food. Look at the electronic stores. There are sales there. That's gonna be, you're just over-exaggerating. And this is what I was getting a lot. Well, I was warning everyone in the past, and they thought I was crazy. I kept saying one phrase: time will tell. That's one of my most favorite phrases. And you know what? Now, time is telling. I just can't believe, I still can't believe how Russians voluntarily wanted to go back to the USSR, to the times of food and goods shortages. Folks, there must be something wrong with me, because I remember this. I remember this. I remember this. And I didn't like it. I hated it. How they wanted to go back there. Why? I like supermarkets fully stocked. You know, I like having choice of everything, a huge choice. Oh well. Let's move to the economic news. I have a few news for you. The largest Russian producer of liquefied natural gas, called Novatek, this company right here, it's one of their plants slash ports, and it's absolutely huge, and it's, believe it's located up northern Russia somewhere. So in June, Novatek reduced natural gas processing at its Arctic liquefied natural gas 2 facility, LNG 2. It reduced to its lowest level since February, processing just over 8 million cubic meters of gas, less than half of May's volume. Gas production at the fields feeding Arctic LNG decreased to 34.2 million cubic meters, which is 5 months low. Part of the extracted gas is being used for the plant's own needs. Now, that's a very fancy word saying they are burning natural gas into thin air instead of liquefying it and shipping it out because there's no one to buy, there are no ships, there are no customers, okay? This is what's going on. Recall that the United States first imposed sanctions against Novatek projects in November of 2023. They were expanded in June 2024. The European Union sanctions, which come into the force next year, will limit the access of Russian LNG to ports, European ports, and the possibility of its transshipment. Now, I don't want to go into small details here. I do that in dedicated live streams. Please come and check out economic news and energy news. But I have a question. Does any one of you still think that the international sanctions have been placed upon Russia aren't working? Does any one of you still think so? Please let me know in the comments. The government has decided Russia's critical dependence on imports of strategic metals should be addressed. I think now they're declaring it, and they really don't know what to do. Because what would you do? Although Russia has reserves of almost all known minerals and raw materials, the country is dependent on imports of critically important raw materials. This is stated in the strategy for the development of the mineral resource base of Russia until 2050, which was approved by the government this past week. According to this document, at the moment, purchases abroad substantially meet the needs of the economy in 16 types of minerals, which are classified as strategic: uranium, titanium, chromium, lithium, magnesium, molybdenum, tungsten, beryllium, zirconium, niobium, tantalum, rhenium, iodine, graphite, and belatonite clays, fluorspar, kaolin, and muscovite. You know what? That was a total surprise to me. Russia has all those raw materials. It is among three world leaders in uranium reserves. Yet, it depends on importing them from other countries. It lacks technologies, experience, education, expertise, so it cannot extract and process them on its own. According to the estimates of Russia's accounting chamber, it's one of state's federal agencies. Before the war started in February 2022, dependence on imports of most strategical raw materials from the list was almost 100%. I tell you one thing, most Russians are absolutely sure that Russia has everything and imports nothing of these strategical materials, raw materials and minerals. Hey, I thought so too. Until I read this news, I double checked. I thought it was a joke or some kind of spreading fakes. No. Amazing. It's really, truly amazing. You know what? It truly is a gas station that cannot refine oil and must buy gas from abroad to pump the gas, figuratively speaking, of course. Wow. Just wow. But that's not it. Russian parliament proposed to introduce quotas for the sale of gasoline in Russia. There we go. I've been talking about it for quite some time. Do you remember me telling, hey, towards the end of summer? Well, this is the end of summer. The drone attacks are working. Speaking of gas, premium gasoline in Rostov region increased in price to 59.16 rubles as of July 2022. Regular gasoline in Rostov region increased in price to 53.06 rubles. Diesel also rose in price to 62.12 rubles. When I was leaving Russia in late 2022, premium gas could be bought for around 50 rubles per liter. Now it's 62 plus. Well, but note that the prices in Rostov are a little bit more expensive than higher than prices in Russia on average. But still, to me, that's huge. And they're going to introduce quotas. Oh, I remember that. Don't even go there, okay? Don't get me started. I remember quotas for gas back in 1985 when I was a kid, and okay, I'll talk about it later. Let's move to things that keep falling apart. An apartment block collapsed in the city of Nizhny Tagil this past week. This building was constructed in 1974, so it's 50 years old, or it was 50 years old. A gas tank explosion in one of the apartments triggered the collapse. And check this out. Used to be a building.
Где у меня фотка эта? Ты что-то тут мне на переключке.
Well, I want to show you another scene that's a different one. It's, oh no, it's still Nizhny Tagil. Now that's a tragedy. Okay. There was another collapse happened in a much newer building. And I would like to show you that one. Caught on security cameras. This video came from the state prosecutor's office. Well, in Karelia, it's northwestern part of Russia, used to be Finland. The dam of Belomorsk-Baltijsk Canal collapsed, was washed away, and this is what happened.
Поселок смыло. Поселку, Саша. От поселка люди погибли. А поселка нету, просто нету поселка. Все, что осталось от поселка. Ничего нету. Здесь был мост. Вот под тем устоем наш эскалатор стоял. И все.
So, 3 major destructions of the week. Well, 2 of them are major, really. This is the result of 3 things. Number 1, this what happens when you construct buildings using shit and sticks like they did in the USSR. Number 2, this is what happens when you bribe your way to commence building unfinished or finished not according to the standards, to get them past inspections, etc. And number 3, this is what happens when you stop maintenance. By the way, the majority of apartment blocks in Russia, they were built way before 1991 in the USSR, and yes, they all were built with shit and sticks. Now, let's talk of something different. Like arrests and suspicious deaths that happened last week. Last week brought us 3 arrests, well, really 2 arrests and 1 trial. 2 of them are major, another one is interesting, and it brought us 1 suspicious death, but a new kind. Well, again, 2 arrests, really. What I thought was one of the arrests, turned out to be the start of the trial. Let's talk about a Major General. Major General Dmitry Murashov. What a guy. The chief of FSB Anti-Corruption Department overseeing Federal Customs Service. He was arrested quite some time ago. I thought he was arrested today, but it turned out to be that his trial started today. So he was arrested and charged with corruption. The chief of FSB Anti-Corruption Department overseeing Federal Customs Service charged with corruption. His trial began today. Murashov is charged with taking bribes amounting to millions of rubles. What's interesting is that it's the KGB's general of one of the highest rank. That usually doesn't happen. The KGB usually doesn't take the trash out of the house, so to speak. This is an exception, and it's a very interesting trial, and this is going to be a very interesting outcome. And of course, I'm using that the chief anti-corruption fella is being tried for corruption. Surprise, surprise. Very unusual arrest was made today, towards the end of the day, right at the upper chamber of Russian parliament, Soviet Federatsy. Now, who is this senator, Dmitry Savelyev? Have you ever heard this name? A model senator, really, a member of Putin's United Russia political party. He represented Tula, well, I was going to say he represented Tula province since 2016, for 8 years now. His background is in oil industry. He was an executive of a few oil companies, including Lukoil, whose CEOs and top managers die, fly out of the windows and things like that, you know? And this is what happened inside the chamber. This is what happened to the good senator. Check it out. No, there's not much, okay? I want to freeze frame. This is Valentina Matvienko accepting the flowers. She is the speaker. She's one of Putin's best friends. They worked together in the 80s in St. Petersburg, in the 90s, and she's she's most powerful woman in Russia politically, and she's one of the highest ranks in the vertical of power. Okay, she leads the upper chamber. But that modest fella in the uniform, in blue uniform to the left, Russia's chief prosecutor, his last name is Krasnov. And then, he's just walking in casually. Right there. The thing is, they didn't, they stopped filming after that, okay? The most interesting part started happening after that. You see, the prosecutor general, he doesn't usually come to the upper chamber of the parliament. It's not his place, it's not his job, not his responsibility, he's not obligated. The only times he comes in, when he makes his case in front of the chamber, when he's demanding immunity, senatorial immunity to be stripped of one of the senators for some reasons. And then he presents his case, he gives evidence, and that's exactly what he did today. There is a criminal investigation against the good senator, and Krasnov came, and the chamber stripped the senator of his immunity, okay? So what's the charge? It gets even better. I don't call them crazy for nothing, The good senator, a model senator, a member of the United Russia. So it appears to be a non-political charge, has nothing to do with, power clans or whatever. The good Russian senator is charged with organizing assassination of his business partner. Apparently, he contracted a killer, a gun for hire, to kill one of his partners. And he's not supposed to have a business. He's not supposed to have business partners. But hey, what do you know? So the killer went straight to the KGB and told everything. So the KGB staged the assassination. And the killer, came to collect the prize. And the good senator handed him in 100,000 American dollars. And the good senator, or not so good senator, was arrested in the process, caught red-handed. Oh, them good Russian senators, honest people servants. Another arrest was made in Khabarovsk province, Russia's Far East. The deputy head of the local government of the province, Yevgeny Nikonov, also a member of Putin's United Russia political party, was arrested and charged with corruption. He took a bribe and he was caught. I couldn't even find his picture. Also, this past week, a suspicious death happened. A kind of death I never heard before. A top manager of a Moscow currency exchange fell off a yacht and died in Moscow River, in the center of Moscow, not too far from the Kremlin. 44-year-old Georgy Chibisov, look at this guy. Young guy, 44 years old. He disappeared on the evening of July 27th. So he just went with friends to have a cruise on a Moscow River, and they rented a yacht. Well, I've done that before. The yachts are not too fancy, but it's like big boats, okay? The friends said that Chibisov was sober, he wasn't drinking, he went on yacht's deck, and then fell into the water of Moscow River. Now, that's where it gets interesting. His friends saw that, and they started searching for Chibisov. And they were searching for over an hour before calling the emergency. And then his body was found only the next day, some 5 or 6 hours later. Well, you know what? Unfortunately, things happen and people die. There's nothing we can do about that. What's interesting, Chibisov lived and worked in London, the UK. He returned to Moscow in June, right after the US State Department placed the sanctions against Mosbirja. What a coincidence, right? Except, well, you know what? I don't believe in such coincidences. It seems awfully a lot like he is the guy who knew too much. How much money is stolen, where money goes to, and who's the real beneficiary. When you know that, then you should keep out of windows. But you know what? It doesn't matter, because as we just saw, you just can fall off a yacht, which is 3-4 meters high, 12, 15 feet, and you fall into the water. And the water is so hard in Moscow, it's so full of calcium or what other chemicals, that it's hard, and you just crush yourself to death on the surface of water. Whew. Before moving to the next news, I want to thank you, those of you who bought me coffees at buymeacoffee.com, those of you who've become my sponsors at YouTube, and patrons at patreon.com, those of you who come back and watch every single time, every day, participate in the live stream chats, send me messages, thank you. Your support shows that you value my work highly. Please know that that inspires me and gives me energy to move forward. It's not just you buy me a coffee or become a sponsor. That is the most positive and strongest feedback I can get. So thank you, thank you, thank you. The next news comes from, from Russian Orthodox Church. Check this out. Russian Pope sanctifying a Russian military vehicle covered in handmade anti-drone net. Straight out of the Mad Max movies. I kind of don't even have to explain this picture. It speaks better than 1,000 words of my explanation. Take a closer look. Sanctifying this thing that's going to be sent to Ukraine with a purpose to somehow kill people, to transport those who will be killing people. I don't think I can comment anything here. I don't know what to say except for what a shame. But the next news are athletic. The Friendship Games. Oh, this is Russia's answer to the Olympics. Russia's been kicked out of the Olympics, but Putin and his buddies decided to make the Friendship Games, where they would invite the entire world to participate in the Russian Olympics. Well, the Friendship Games that were going to be held in Russia, in Moscow and around Moscow in September, the alternative to the Olympics, the Friendship Games are postponed, most likely cancelled. The International Friendship Association, hey, I didn't even know that such association existed, has proposed to postpone the Friendship Games to 2025. I think it's really a cancellation because what will happen in 2025, no one knows and no one plans for right now. We know for sure that Russia is going to be lacking funds, money in 2025 like crazy, okay? So expenses will be cut on everything, education, healthcare. What Friendship Games, for goodness sake? But why are they canceling now if they still have budget? Well, could be for two reasons. First, economic reason, and second is political. Perhaps they are already so low on money, and that's a possibility, that this event is considered not high priority and it's canceled, okay? Because they're already saving money. And if the peace negotiations are coming, they might know, they might have plans for, okay? Then there is no need in organizing the Friendship Games any longer. Now, that's an interesting news to think about. That kind of gives food for thought. And by the way, there are many more news like that. They come out. If you want to keep yourself informed on what's happening in Russia, become patron of Inside Russia, where I post 9 news daily that I find important, that I find that matter, and I post my commentaries and analysis along. So every single day, 9 news. Sign up to become patron, and you will have access to everything you wanted to know about Russia, but were afraid to ask. I'm gonna put links down below in the comments. I'm gonna pin it right after I'm done with the stream. The next news is, I don't even know how to categorize it, what to say. What a man consists of. What does a man consist of? Do you know? But that's a philosophical question. Well, we can argue, we can debate about that, we can discuss, but if you really want the answer, go to the Russian parliament, speak to senators, and they'll tell you what a man consists of. Simple: husband and rank. Check this out.
Из чего состоит мужчина? Муж и чин.
Mushina is man, chin is rank. Mushchina, this is like a play of words in Russian. Mushchina. Mushchina. Husband and rank.
Это воин, защитник семьи, нашего общества и нашего государства. А в последующем чин – это работник, добытчик. Так вот, каждый мужчина должен защищать свою семью, наше общество и наше государство. А потом уже думать и заботиться о добыче для своей семьи.
Russian parliament refused to send home men who have 3 or more kids and are currently on the front lines. There are currently 903 fathers with 3 or more children and 100 fathers of disabled children that are on the front lines. And one of the senators proposed to send them home. And this man came out and said that, hey, gotta serve, gotta protect the country, gotta protect the motherland, you know. What do we know, right? They know better. They know better. It's one more news that I don't really know how to comment. And to be honest with you, I don't want to comment it because those men are in the front lines killing Ukrainians right now. For what? And they have children of their own, and they're trying to get them back home, and other Russians refusing them, and whatever. The next news is a train wreck, literally. 37 people, including 6 children, were injured in the train crash. Fortunately, no one died. 4 people were hospitalized. Everyone else kind of got off easy. The cause of this accident is trivial. It's not a mystery. It's not nothing to do with the word. Driver of a tractor trailer, for some reason, tried to cross the railroad right before the train, and the truck was hit. Check this out. It's pretty bad stuff.
Здорово, брат. Тоже на машине? Ну? Что вы? Кричи так.
Алиса, вернись, мы папе.
Да, аж это самое переломился.
А, вон этот. Машина, блин. Вон, видишь?
Unfortunately, things like that happen anywhere, and it happened in Russia, and they happen once in a while. Help and assistance were provided to all those affected. The Russian railroad company, that is a little more interesting situation. You see, usually when an accident like that happens, passengers get reimbursed and insurance pays some money, especially to the ones who were injured. This time, Russian railroad company announced that it was going to compensate the passengers with bonus points of its reward program. Bonus points of its reward program. So the next time they can upgrade the class or get a discount on food and stuff like that. That's generous. Thank you. The next news is fire. Fire. Mobile telephones are banned in the army now, in the front lines. And this is another news that, just check it out.
Все ссылаетесь на то, что вы беседовали с командиром. Вам сегодня кто-то из командиров сказал, что у него что-то отобрали? Или у его бойца что-то отобрали? Сказал? Не сказал. И не скажет. И не скажет.
He's addressing the senators.
А это отсылочная норма, это действующее законодательство. И мы обязаны его прописать, потому что данный законопроект определяет полномочия именно в условиях специальной военной операции. И вот это вот словоблудие абсолютно не нужно, потому что, коллеги, те, кто поддерживает и голосует за этот закон, те голосуют за порядок, за дисциплину. Вам командиры в пояс поклонятся за то, что мы его примем. А те, кто не поддерживает и голосует против, они голосуют за пьяниц, за нарушителей, за самовольщиков, за прочих беспредельщиков. Голосуйте дальше.
Well, I actually enjoyed this speech because drunkards, violators, imposters, and other scoundrels, he's talking about those who are on the front lines. You see, I love watching Russian senators speak because a lot of things slip their tongues. They reveal things that they don't want to reveal, and this is one of those things. So this high-ranked senator, heavyweight senator Kartopolov, just admitted that Russian army is full of drunks, full of scoundrels, full of imposters, and so forth. Okay, I had my guesses. I was but there's no way I could prove. I've never been to the Russian army, front lines. But hey, thank you, General Kartapolov, for making it official for me, for us. Thank you. Now the whole world knows. All military men, when they heard Kartapolov, all Z people, they have gone nuts over it. They started criticizing. No, not criticizing. They started insulting the senator and Kartapolov and all those senators voting for this law, for this bill. There are so many, let me quote one of the Z people, there are so many things that Russian army lacks, and they rely heavily on the personal smartphones, communications, maps, GPS navigation, drone operating, etc. Unquote. Nice. So, as far as I understand, Russian army doesn't supply much, and the soldiers come with their own stuff, equipment, clothing, and telephones. And now the senators want to ban telephones on the front lines. Russian parliament just outlaws everything. It's good for you, the good Russian senator, But I guess the senators don't think so. They don't care about army-related things. They care. I was thinking, why are they doing that? And now, please let me know what you think. Are you with me or not? Do you think so or not? Why are they banning telephones? The maps, GPS, drones use phones and so forth. Now they can't fly drones, I take it. I don't think they care so much about soldiers. They want soldiers not to film videos or take pictures and save them, send them to some people, to anyone, and bring home. Because that's crime evidence. And the Russian senators would hate that evidence to multiply. What do you think? Do you think I'm right or I'm off? Well, defense rests its case. The good senators, you go ahead and do it, I don't mind at all. You forbid use guns in the front lines. Hey, that's okay with me. The next news is about grand Russian theft. In Ryazan province, a 60 metric ton railway bridge was stolen. The locals dismantled it for scraps in just few short days. Check this out. Russia 2024 for you. Parts of the bridge were found in many metal collection offices in Ryazan. There are like small offices, they called spots, You can bring your metal and sell it to them for cheap, but still, they give you some money. But then police started checking those places and it found lots of evidence, but it doesn't know what to do with evidence weighing 60 metric tons. The satire here is with help of this bridge, the locals themselves traveled to neighboring settlements, the villages, and it was believed that was the shortest and the best way. And the bridge owners estimate the damage at about 300 million Russian rubles or $3.5 million. Okay. Interesting. Let me tell you, there's another theft happening right now. It's much grander. It's probably the grandest theft in the universe so far. Russia is stealing YouTube. I'm going to cover it in the upcoming streams, so please keep on tuning in. So now, before I move to the last news, I'd like to ask you a favor. Please pick 3 news that I like the most that you liked absolute most from this live stream, and let me know down below in the comments. I want your feedback. I need to know what kind of news you like more. I need to know to finesse the following news updates. Thank you so very much. If you have nothing to say, just like this message, please, and drop me a couple lines of encouragement. Say, hey, Konstantin, just checking in. You're doing a good job. I like it. Or I dislike it. Or whatever, you know. Tell me the truth. Thank you so much. Now, the last news, and of course, that's what you saw on the thumbnail, most likely because you came to see, that's why you came to see this news update about how Russia is turning North Korea. No, it's not a clickbait. I really think, and I'm seeing, not just think, I'm seeing that Russia is turning to North Korea, and I'm gonna give you the evidence now. North Korea is the most totalitarian state right now. But guess what? It's North Korea did not become North Korea overnight. Two Koreas were established in 1946 after the Japanese surrender in World War II. And for a few years, North Koreans weren't slaves. They had certain freedoms, but the freedoms were taken away from people step by step. I call that strategy stepping stones, and most bad people use it, unfortunately. And Russia has been becoming totalitarian as well. And most of the way I witnessed myself. I lived in Russia from 2004 until 2022 for 18 years. I saw small steps. The government does many baby steps that you don't even notice, but combined, they become force to really hard to oppose and fight. It all starts with brainwashing and changing laws, creating legislative foundation. And I've spoken about it so many times in different streams and perhaps hundreds of times, okay? Over 2 last years, I kept telling Russians, I kept telling here on the streams that they were making new laws and amending all old laws to cater to this new system. And that stage is over now. Instead of simply keep on changing legislation and so forth, Russian government has started using this new legislation to take actions. And the first massive action it's taken is isolating Russia informationally, digitally. And these are the actions. Russian internet will soon be placed under manual control of the KGB and the State Prosecutor's Office. The Russian authorities are preparing to significantly expand the powers of law enforcement agencies to censor the internet, and Russia is already number 3 in the world of internet censorship. As part of this new amendments to the law on communications, the Prosecutor General's office will be able to make decisions on blocking websites and traffic management. Now only court can do that, but the power will shift to Prosecutor General's office. And it will be up to the Federal Security Service, the FSB, the KGB, to determine specific measures on case-by-case basis. According to Russia's news agency TASS, the relevant bill was approved by the State Parliament Committee on Information Policy on Tuesday, July 29th. Now, this something that wasn't discussed much. No one really knows about that. I had to dig deep to get that stuff. Under current legislation, Roskomnadzor, state's information watchdog, has the right to manage communication networks in an emergency situations and in a state of emergency, as well as in the events of threat to the stability, security, and integrity of the internet. These events are to be determined by Roskomnadzor itself. According to the amendments, Roskomnadzor will also be able to impose restrictions at the request of the Prosecutor General Office and his deputies, Prosecutor General himself, in case of detection of mass or repeated dissemination or of prohibited information. Sounds perfect, right? Just, this is how unlimited power looks like. And that's, the devil is in the details, and I'm giving you the details. Now, the procedure for responding to the Prosecutor General's request will be approved in consultation with the KGB. In plain English, this is it. Finita la commedia. 2 top Siloviki agencies have received absolute power over Russian internet. They don't have to discuss their actions with anyone anymore. They do as they find necessary. And it's all legal now. Internet was the last bastion of freedom left in Russia. Well, not any longer. And the Siloviki mean business. They don't talk the talk, they don't talk at all. They just do things. And they have slowed down YouTube by 70%. Now it is very inconvenient in Russia to watch YouTube. You cannot do that as you did before. Why? Because there are so many YouTube channels that just bring the truth to Russians. No, that's unlawful information. That's dissemination of truth. That's stuff not needed to Russian people, And that's their goal. They don't want anyone to watch YouTube. There are many ideas on YouTube that they find unnecessary and dangerous for Russians to watch. They know better. How do they explain that? Very simple. YouTube is bad. And that's all you need to know, citizens. You don't believe us? It doesn't matter any longer. You just cannot watch it. But you know what? It's still possible to circumvent KGB's blocking. Well, let's say to use VPN. That's a very simple way of doing it. And, so many times I've heard from the, foreigners saying, hey, what's the big deal? They shut down YouTube, they shut down other sites, just use VPN. Okay, that's fair enough. VPNs are illegal in Russia, by the way, now. They made them illegal about 6 years ago, and they're not prosecuting people for using VPNs now, but they are illegal. And if one uses VPN, one breaks the Russian law. That's one of the laws that was changed. That's the foundation of the new state. Okay, so you take a risk and you use VPN, right? Not so fast. Roskomnadzor is preparing to ban any information about VPNs on the internet. According to the new executive order of Roskomnadzor, all scientific, technical, and statistic information about the VPNs will be banned. The order will come into force on March 1st, 2025. From that moment on, any information about the VPNs will be blocked. Plain and simple. And they will succeed. And the following step, in the future, I don't know when, not tomorrow, perhaps not even day after tomorrow, but in the future, they will be catching very few of those who will still have access to VPNs, who still will have circumnavigate blockages, okay? And guess what the authorities will do to those people? They will publicly hang them in front of everyone, so others would fear. Step by step, stepping stones. And that's not in the future. That's not, not around the corner. I'm talking about this whole blockage of internet. It's not around the corner. You know, I used to say the tsunami is right here. It's right in front of us. No, it's right here. The water is up here. And the same thing. This is not just fear mongering. It's right there. They have slowed down YouTube. The people in Moscow, people in Russia complain. They call me, say we can't use it properly. It's here. And YouTube will be banned completely. Give it some time. Well, another news. IT specialists. It's such demanded profession these days. Informational technology expert specialist. That the government used to give preferences to IT people. One of the preferences was subsidized mortgage. So you go out and take a bank mortgage, and instead of paying, let's say, 18% annual, you pay 4.5%. The rest is subsidized by the government. Now, the IT specialists are forbidden to quit until they pay off mortgages. They must work until pay off mortgages. The Ministry of Finance announced a change in the subsidy program, according to which IT specialists would lose all benefits when leaving the company. Previously, they could quit under 5 years of working, and then after that they quit, still maintaining subsidized mortgage. Financial slavery, anyone? Perhaps I'm over-exaggerating. What do you think? I don't know how constitutional that is. I yet to check. It's a very fresh news. But I'm pretty sure that they will find a way out. I mean, the government, you know, around the constitution. Another news is about bloggers. A law amendment has been submitted to the parliament obliging bloggers, including owners of Telegram channels with audience of at least 10,000 subscribers, to register personal data at Roskomnadzor and obliging them not to distribute prohibited information. What's prohibited is decided by the state, of course. They just tell you. The requirement will apply to blogs in any social networks, including YouTube channels. The channels without identification and verification by Roskomnadzor will not be blocked yet, but such anonymous bloggers will not be able to advertise, collect donations, and their posts will be prohibited to be reposted by other channels. If they do so, other channels will be punished. Will not be blocked, they say. Well, who says that? Senator Hinstein, the very same senator that told us on July 12th or in the beginning of July that YouTube slowing down is Google's fault due to aging equipment and has nothing to do with the Russian government. It was not responsible. Then 2 weeks later, the good Senator Hinstein told us that, oh, it's us. It's the government. You know, we are blocking it. Google has nothing to do about it. And now the good senator is telling us, oh, there's nothing to worry about. The channels will not be blocked. Yes. Right. And finally, the parliament also adopted a bill on Russia's creative industries, IT sector, cinematography, architecture, design, creation of toys and video games, folk arts, and performing activities have been allocated to separate sector of the economy. And individuals and companies engaged in this kind of business will be able to apply for financial, property, and informational support from the government. And to get support, that's right, it will be necessary to join the register of subjects of creative industries. Basically, you would have to step out and reveal yourself, and they would have to write things down about you. This is it. They are seriously controlling the internet. It'll take some time to sort these things out, hiccups, here and there, perhaps a year, perhaps a couple years, but they will succeed. Senator Hinstein, and by the way, he was a KGB informant before he became the senator, he will be victorious. Russia is becoming North Korea. Although many Russians still don't see it and they don't want to listen when someone tells them. I don't see a way how to undo the message, how to turn things back. I think it's only when the entire political system will collapse, will be purged, and something new will grow on top of it. I don't see any other way. Do you? Let me know down in the comments if you have an idea. And now I want you to see how I was escaping Putin's Russia in a hurry. I had only 36 hours to leave. I documented everything, and I'm gonna put a link right over here.